Hi there everyone, welcome to Pour Painting with Ron. I hope you've been really well since the last time we saw each other. It has been quite a while, hasn't it? I've been really busy with all sorts of other projects, and if you caught up with my last video, just a little quick catch-up video, I showed off some of the really nice new coffee mugs and iPhone cases that I've been doing using some of my favourite pour painting designs. So if you haven't had a chance to check those out yet and you'd like to, I'll put a link to my Etsy store in the description. Let me know what you think. Anyway, finally we've come to the time to do another painting. So again, apologies for taking so long, and life just gets busy, and I had to remake some paintings I've already done videos of before for my store, so I didn't think there was a point just showing exactly the same thing again. But anyway, I've come up with a new idea today that I haven't done before that I'd like to have a go at, and it combines a couple of different techniques, a little bit of swiping and a little bit of blowing out with a straw. So I guess it's a little bit like a Dutch pour on the top. We're going to make some flowers today, and I didn't get just a huge canvas in case it didn't work. I've got this 30 centimeter by 60 centimeter thin edged canvas. When I'm done, it's going to be like this, but for ease of use in video today, I'll do it turned around this way just so I can reach everything. Now, my canvas was really loose when I got it, so I needed to use the stretcher bars in the corners, so I just slotted them into the little holes that are there and hammered them in a bit with a hammer until the canvas was nice and tight. And just like I usually do, I taped off the back with some painter's tape and hammered in some giant push pins just to keep it off the surface of the table. Anyway, so what paints are we going to be using today? Well, the base layer for my flowers creation is going to be using Montmartre paints. Now, I'm using a lot of titanium white for the background, but I thought I would do a swipe over the top with sort of green colours, just a light swipe, not too busy looking, just to create a little bit of a garden effect. We'll see if that works anyway. So the colours I'm using are aqua green, some of their sap green, and some of the light green. Now I've mixed those 1-to-1 paint and Floetrol and then thinned them out quite a bit with some water so I get a nice runny consistency. And you'll see that once we get going. It's a bit hard to show you now because I've got them in these little squeeze bottles. So, but you'll soon see anyway. Now for the flowers on the top, I'm going to blow them out using a straw and maybe my mouth. We'll see how we go. And I'm using some Heraldo metallic paints today. I don't normally use these for normal pour painting because the colour doesn't really go very far. But for this sort of thing, I think it'll work quite well. So I'm using their metallic mauve and purple and metallic magnolia to do the flowers with, so they should look pretty on the top. I hope so anyway. And again, I used 1-to-1 paint and Floetrol and then thin them out quite a lot with water as well. I need it nice and runny, not water runny, but nice and runny so it's easy to blow out with my straw or with my mouth. All right, let's get started. Righto, we're ready to rock and roll with this canvas. As I said, it's going to be like this way when I'm done, but so I can reach everything, I'll keep the canvas this way for the time being. Now, first step is to put my layer of titanium white over the background. Now, I've kept a little bit aside for the swiping later, but as you can see, it's pretty runny. If I pour it off the spoon, I don't really get much of a mound of paint happening at all. Could have even been a bit thinner than that, but we'll see how this goes. So pretty thin. If I do a twirly thing, the bump of paint at the top stays there for like 1 second or so. I want it nice and runny. So I'll just cover my canvas with that. I've got more than enough, I think. I'll tip a lot of it off in the end. Now I'll just spread it out a little bit with my palette knife, and then I'll tilt it so I get a nice thin, even coating. It's not like a normal pour painting where you can have a lot of paint on the canvas and then tip everything around to get your design. I'm creating my design with a straw on the top. So I really like doing all my tipping now instead of later on like you normally do with a normal painting. Right, so just basically poured it all over the place, and now I'll tilt it out, and because it's thin it should be pretty easy to do. I don't want a huge amount left on the canvas. Make sure the corners are covered, the sides. Bit messy. I do have plenty. Oh, then we'll work our way to the bottom. Like so, and we'll do this corner. I can still have too much on there. I'm going to be adding more paint when I do the swipe. Okay. I think we're good. Now I'll just make sure I've got all the corners and edges done. Now that was pretty good going. Cool, now I'll just wash my gloves a bit and then we'll be back for the next step. Okay, we're back. Just move it back a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. That should be better. Alright, now what I'm going to do is just give it a bit of a torch to blow some air bubbles away. Don't get too close because you'll burn the paint. Burnt paint doesn't look good, and it doesn't work very well either. Okay, just a little general torch there to pop bubbles. Now I was contemplating putting the colours on something else and dipping a paper towel in and then swiping, but I thought rather than doing that, I'll just put some colour, general colour on one end and I'll drag up. Now the idea is not to have a huge mass of colour, but if that happens, it happens. But I want most of my colour down one end and less colour up at the top end because it's like grass and stuff and the sky is up this way, so I think that's how it's supposed to go. Anyway, so as I said, the colours I'm using are the different greens. Now I've got them in these squeeze bottles. Works reasonably well. You don't have to use squeeze bottles if you don't want to. You can just pour them out of a cup. I've already given them a bit of a shake. And also dribble in some white just to lighten things up a little bit. So I might put the dark colour on first. Right, not a huge amount. First time I'm doing this, so yeah, if it doesn't work, I won't do it again. And then, ooh, that's a lot. Like so. I like the light green, a bit more light green. See how thin it is? Not quite Dutch pour thin, but pretty thin. If it's too thick, you can't swipe with it. And then some of this other green. I think is it a metallic one? I think it's a bit of a metallic green. Anyway, that's what I've got. Now and then, as I said, dribble a little bit of white. Now, I don't think it was the mark colour after all, green, that I used. Don't ask me what I used. I did mix them up a while ago. Okay. Now, I've got some paper towel here, and just off to the side, I'll just dampen it a bit to make it a bit heavier with some water, just so there's a bit of weight on it, holding it down onto the paint as I drag it up. All right, so maybe you can see the dampness there. I'll just wet it with the paper towel, and then I'll just lie it on my paint. Famous last words. And I'll just drag it up. Oh, cool. That's looking how I'd like it to look. Cool. Well, that worked well. All right, I've got my dark green down this end and the lighter green up the other end. Yeah, I don't think I can do much about the part at the bottom there. Can I tip a little bit? Tip a little bit off, perhaps. Without ruining my design? No, I don't think so. Don't think it really matters. Can you still see? Yes, you can. Okay, cool. Now, I might do some, or maybe some general plant stalks, will I? Will I do some plant stalks? I'll just get my skewer. Now, I don't want to wreck it. I might get one of these paint things and just put a bit of paint on there. A bit of dark green. A bit of the other green. And a bit of the blue. There, like so. And I'll just dab the stick in. We'll see if this works. Not really. I wonder if something thicker would work. I might get another straw, because they're thicker. That's a little bit thicker. And I'll just put the straw in. No, that's not going to go. Might have to stick with the skewer. That one sort of worked a little bit better. I don't want like a massive massive stalks. Just to give a general grassy look feel. It's like it's abstract painting, it doesn't have to look realistic. Now, because I did everything thin, I'm not getting like mounds of paint everywhere, because then the paint has nowhere to go. Like so. I can always put some more in later. Okay, that'll do. I don't want to overdo stuff and regret it later. Okay, now the flowers. Where will I start? Maybe at the top. Now I'll put the purple on first. Ooh, that's very runny. Purple. And then I'll do the pinky colour. I do want the flowers to be reasonably large. I've used these paints before. For some reason I get lots of, they blow bubbles, which is a bit of a pain. Must be something in the paints or something, but it's like blowing bubbles on me. All right. Now I like these bendy straws because you can maneuver them a little bit. So let me see. How's that? Isn't that pretty? Yeah, cool. All right. So as you saw at the last one, I put the dark colour first. And then the slightly lighter colour. And the lightest of all on the top. We get a bubble again. Annoying. Annoying little bubble. Now I won't show you every flower. I will speed up the video in a little bit once you've got the idea of how it all goes. And you can see if you left a lot of paint on the canvas in your background, you just end up with paint pooling everywhere, which isn't a good idea. Pretty. Yeah, the stalks I'm not very happy with. I think I'll cover most of them up with flowers. All right, we'll speed the video up a little bit, and you can see then the final result once I'm done. Righto, that's enough playing, I think. I decided to put in some more little like green tendril things just to make it look more together. Otherwise the flowers will look all a bit like disembodied on the painting. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Okay, yeah, a few more tendrils there. Now I'll give it a little bit more of a torch. Yeah, the air bubbles are a real pain, and I don't know what's causing those. They're very hard to pop too, for some weird reason. Now the painting will flatten out completely when it dries. It should look really interesting, I hope. Now the heat will bring out a little bit of cell action, I think, a bit of lacing in the leaves, which just adds a little bit more interest, I think, in the painting. Yeah, I think it's right. I was contemplating putting out like a flower there, but no, I don't think I will. It just might get just way too busy. All right, I'll move this painting over to another table, and then I'll bring you in for a closer look so you can see it right side up. Before I do though, I'll just run my palette knife around the bottom edges to get rid of any drips, and then I'll move the painting and bring you in for a closer look. I've got the camera above my head. Hopefully you can see the painting. I'll bring you down. I think it turned out well. I really like the background, how that turned out. And I think the flowers are really pretty too. I'll bring you down closer. And we've got a little bit of like cell action happening. We've got like the stems, and the flowers are really pretty. I think the trick is to keep your background colour as thin as possible. This is easier then to blow out your flower pattern without getting huge pools of background colour pooled into certain spots with nowhere to go. No, I think that's really, really lovely for the first time anyway. So what did you think of that one? I think for a first attempt that turned out really well. I do like the idea of the swiping at the background. I think that creates a really interesting effect, and the flowers just look lovely as well. As I said earlier, I think it works best if you keep your background paint layer really thin and spread out, because when you blow out your flowers, it tends to pool in between the flowers, especially if you do them like close to each other. So less is better in this case. Keep your paints thin too, so they're easy to blow out with your straw. If they're thick and lumpy, they're not going to go anywhere. Well, I hope it dries really well, and I'd like to try it again sometime. I need to finesse the technique a little bit, as they say. But anyway, as usual, if you like what you saw today, please take a moment to press the like button. Feel free to share it with your friends as well. And if you'd like to see more of my content, of course, please take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Well, I hope you have a really good time ahead until we do the next video. Hopefully not as far away as this one was. And in the meantime, happy painting.